it's like the gods were were part of the timing on this one, because I didn't realize how intense the process was to make this until later in the afternoon. And I looked at how long it had to cook for. I figured, it's ribs. It can't take that long. What do I know? And I'm like, oh my gosh, 2.5 hours. So I jumped on, did a little live stream, in order to just go over the mixes here. So what I did was, and we're going to use this later. Not on me, though. Not on me. That's for the movie. That's Pandora's job. Now, so what I did was, for the ribs, I made a rub. And the Reaper's Rib rub was 2 tablespoons of olive oil and a 1/4 cup of dark brown sugar, which I have right over here. A 1/4 cup of, 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika. And make sure you get the smoked paprika too, because my wife informed me that there's a huge difference between regular paprika and smoked paprika, which I myself, I probably would have just glossed right over that. Then it's 1 tablespoon garlic powder, 1 tablespoon onion powder, 1 teaspoon cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon ground black pepper, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And then I whisked all of that up and got it all nice and chunky. It was almost like the topping to one of those apple strudel cakes or whatever they are, pies. Those apple pies with that. Anyway, and then the molasses bourbon sauce. I did 1 cup of molasses, which there was this wonderful grandma's molasses. Now, we're not getting paid for this, but let me tell you something. That cute little grandma on the front of this molasses jar, who wouldn't want to use this molasses? Reminds me of my mama, John. Anyway, so 1 cup molasses, 1/2 cup bourbon marinade, which we used this one. It's Allegro. It's Tennessee whiskey. It is delicious. I did take a little taste test of that earlier. Then we had some apple cider vinegar, which was a 1/4 cup of that, and we just used some regular White House apple cider. But it's non-GMO, which I like to look out for when I'm buying stuff, right? And then you have the Worcester sauce, which was a 1/4 cup, a 1/4 cup of ketchup, and we went for that, wherever it is, a classic French's Worcester sauce. I was told that's how it's pronounced. It's written Worcestershire, but it's apparently pronounced Worcester. My friend from the UK sent me a message about that. 2 tablespoons Dijon mustard, which we used a standard Publix brand of, which I think is just fine. And 2 cloves of garlic, which we used a minced garlic already pre-minced. So we did probably 3 tablespoons full of that. And then we had a 1/2 teaspoon of ground pepper and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. That was all mixed up. It let sit for a long time. And then what you can do is you can cook that in a pot separately, and you can add it after you do the ribs. I myself added mine to the ribs, and that sauce can be poured out later, and you can use it separately. But I like it to really soak in there and get those ribs nice and juicy. So let's see how they look. Here we go. Heads on. I'll be right back. They're going to be right here in just a second. All right. Their oven's open. I have one hand on the ribs. Second hand going on the ribs. Ribs are out of the oven. There we go.
That looks delicious.
Look at those bad boys right there.
Corin, I think you missed
Reaper's Ribs, ladies and gentlemen.
For sure. We'll post the recipe.
I don't know who all voted on it. What was that?
We'll post the recipe for everyone, since on the chat it doesn't seem to be able to go through, but everyone can have their own little recipe. It's on our socials as well, so everyone can follow what you did to make their own little snack for tonight's training. So
I'll tell you this. Yeah, I've never made my own sauce before from scratch like that, and much less rub. and it was a lot less difficult than I was expecting when I saw the process. Obviously, if it's just like, you know, building a model, you start with what do you do first? So the process was not as complicated as I was expecting, and I mean the smell of this, the amount of sweetness and tang, and you can even taste the spices in your mouth when you're breathing over it. It's interesting. It's this is going to be amazing. And in a moment, I'm going to go grab a prong, and I'm going to cut one of these off and set it aside to cool. Give me a second. Go grab it. If anybody's got any questions or anything like that, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, and everyone, so you know, we're doing this for the Place of Bones virtual premiere screening, which will be starting in around 20 minutes, where Corin will be watching the film with all of his fans and anyone else who joins us and become future fans of Corin, because he's amazing. And what we'll also be doing after the screening is doing a Q&A with Corin after everyone watches and can ask some questions. And I wanted to say hi to Cerebral Paul. He says, good evening, all.
What's up? How are you, Paul? I hope you are doing well, my friend.
And we have David Kerr, producer from the movie as well. Sorry for jumping on each other. It's a live stream. So David, why don't you say hi to everyone? And what made you make the movie? What kind of inspired you to make Place of Bones?
Well, first off, hi everybody, and this is Daisy for anybody who was wondering. You know, I just read the script. I've known about this writer's work on a few scripts that have been submitted to me, Richard. And when I read this, I was blown away. I've seen a lot of Westerns. I'm a big Western fan. High Noon is one of my favorite movies. So, you know, I love the genre. I've always wanted to do a Western. But seeing a woman in the lead like this, and a woman and her daughter all alone with, I'd say, almost a female empowerment story, really took me. And obviously there's a surprise ending, which we won't give away. But all of that kind of put together, and then coupled with Audrey Cummings, who we found in Toronto as the Toronto Film Festival's award winner for Best Emerging Director, I could see we had a female filmmaker who could deliver this home. My next call was then to Andrei Sakula to see if he would do a favor for us and work within our budget. And if those who don't know, Andrei Sakula is the cinematographer behind these little movies like Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs and American Psycho with Christian Bale. So he's really one of the great cinematographers of all time, as far as I'm concerned. It's one of my idols. Luckily, we had a relationship there, and he was blown away by the script. He loved Audrey. We just found a recipe, not to take away from the recipe that Corin has now enlightened us with. But this was a perfect recipe for filmmaking. And then I called my good buddy, Corin Nemec, and I said, Corin, I need you to come to LA and do a little movie with me. And he read the script, and I'll let him answer that one for himself, but I think he was pretty taken by it too. And I mean, this is what we do as producers. You know, we package things together. And then funny enough, you know, I wasn't even planning to act in this one. I've acted in over 60 movies, and, you know, most people who know me know I started as an actor. But what's happened on so many of these films that I produced is somebody got sick with COVID, and I had to jump in and do the role. And that's what happened. So that's kind of how this all came together. And of course, you know, with Heather Graham in the lead, we knew we had the right star to bring this home. And from Brielle, who's with us today, I believe, you know, finding her, you know, the one thing when we shoot in LA, Eric, is we like to hire people in LA. That's usually the cost benefit of not getting all the big tax credits and rebates for shooting outside of LA is everybody lives here. So we don't have to bring them in. I had to bring Tom Hopper in from London. Brielle had to come in from Montreal, Audrey from Toronto, Corin from Florida. I think aside from me, nobody lived here. So it was, Andrei Sekula had to come from Poland. It's just crazy. Even our sound guy came from, I think, Montana, who's one of my favorite sound guys, Brett. I said, I need you on this movie because I need the sound to be top notch. So, that's how it all kind of came together. But I got to say, Corin, who I've not only been friends with for years, but I've been a fan of for years, I think delivered his greatest performance ever, and something that stands out as really a scene stealer. It's funny, like you'll see, there's a scene where I don't want to give it away, but there's a scene where he's continuing the action, his dialogue, and ad-libbing stuff as we bring the action outside the house, and he's still screaming and yelling and coming up with all kinds of stuff. That's all Corin. That wasn't in the script. So he brought a lot to the table, and I'm really excited for people to watch this.
And I mean, if no one knows, Place of Bones is an independent film, and when you have all of those people from all of those places, that's really hard to do in an independent film budget. So that's amazing that you guys were able to get top-notch people, to participate in such a film, which means everyone really felt for the the film itself and wanted to give that story, which I think Heather for sure has talked about how strong the two female lead characters are. In a Western, you usually get people, where the female is usually has to, be with a man to be able to get through all of this heck that she's gone through. And she's been able to, people will watch, but her character is just so amazing and so strong for what she does. And she's just a know-nothing kind of woman, and takes on these men that's in the movie. So,
and by the way, the location was almost a character in the movie. It was really difficult to find the perfect location where you would have these two women secluded in the middle of nowhere in the mountains that looks like the Wild West. And ultimately, with all these places we looked, from Utah to Colorado to Arizona, and even in the South, ultimately we ended up shooting here in LA because nothing really could match those mountains. And we had a 200-acre ranch that was with nothing on it, right? It's just mountains and trees and dirt roads and pathways. And we built the sets there. And luckily, I know the owner of the ranch. We made a really good deal that saved us, because if Corin will remember, we had a lot of rain, a lot of strangely cold weather for LA. And
remember that mudslide, the mudslide.
Yep. God, thank God the sets didn't blow away
did
the mudslide.
Did Audrey sleep? She slept in the cabin the first couple of days, right? That's what Heather said in her Q&A. Yeah.
We never could have pulled this off trying to rent like Disney Ranch or something, or one of these studios.
Right.
So, the fact that I knew this guy and made a really good deal with him, he allowed Audrey and the cinematographer, Andrei Sekula, to live at the ranch for weeks while they prepped the film. And then we had additional crew living there for the shoot. So we really were ingrained in the location. And again, it was a 200-acre ranch. So there's a lot of land there. And we used a lot of it, if not most of it.
I hear the airplanes were an issue too, shooting though.
Yeah, I think Heather brought up, she thought there was an airport nearby. There's no airport anywhere near there. The thing is, every now and then these flight plans change, and for whatever reason, the time of year we shot there, it must have been a flight plan to get to Burbank Airport, is my guess, or even LAX. And somehow planes were flying. I mean, not directly over, but close enough.
We were also in like an amphitheater setting. It was almost like an amphitheater being in those hills like that too. So
right, because you're in a pocket surrounded by these mountains, so the sound kind of bounces around in there. So it was a little tricky dealing with that, but we got it done. We had a great sound guy, a great post house to clean up the sound, and you'd never know it. But we had to do some extra takes because of that.
So Paul says, Corin, you should feel free to bring some ribs up in Jack's, okay, for him. So you better make an extra.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, real quick, I'm about to take a bite of these. It's cooled off just enough.
Woo. That looks good.
I want a rib.
Oh my God. I can't believe that I made these.
I'm so proud. when everyone chose the ribs and I saw the recipe, I'm like, oh, he's gonna hate me.
This is amazing.
That's why they voted on it. Some Reaper's ribs.
Oh my god.
Yum.
That's great. That looks
If anybody
so
else made these, you're gonna be so happy you did. Oh my lord.
Well, the recipe's up on all of our socials on the Avenue, so anyone can check it out.
This is the best piece of meat. This is the best piece of meat I ever ate. Finely salted, fried right through. Indeed.
So, Corin, I know we'll have a Q&A later regarding more details and stuff like that, but what drew you to the role? What led you to take on the role?
First, I'm just so glad. I'm so fortunate that I got to work with David on his other film, Joe Baby. That I got to take a relatively small cameo kind of character, 4 scenes, very well written scenes, interesting moments with a daughter character, and we had a really good time working together. And when the opportunity arrived, it came up for this, and he sent me the script. Number one, he accidentally put in the subject line "place of boners," which I'll never forget as long as I live. I was like,
that's a different movie.
What are we
Different
doing?
kind of movie, Corin.
That's a different kind of
Western comedy. But so I got the script and I read the script, and let me tell you something, man. I was in love with this script by page 16, 18. That was it. I was like, this is a role of a lifetime. Any actor in Hollywood would chop down doors to get their hands on this part. Richard Taylor did such a fantastic job writing this script. I like to tell people it's a combination of Misery meets Hateful Eight and A Sixth Sense. As if those three had a conjugal visit somewhere, out there in the webosphere, Place of Bones would be born out of that. And I was when I got to the end, I was already just so excited to have an opportunity to be in this film, especially playing Austin Calhoun alongside Heather Graham and with Tom Hopper and Brielle, who I had not met yet. Brielle Robillard just did an absolutely phenomenal job in this. She should be so proud of her work in this. It was so sincere and relaxed and authentic, just wonderful. And everybody else. I mean, Ray Abruzzo just stole the moment when he was the Wild West pimp. These are ladies, not whores, ladies. I was like, yes, I love you, Ray. My wife was trying to crawl by in the background.
We saw that. We saw that.
Yeah, they saw you.
She doesn't want to. She doesn't want to start this Q&A.
Yeah, and by the way, for us to bring in Brielle from Montreal, I mean, that was crazy. I was like, we can't find an actress in LA, for God's sakes. Like, let's go through casting. And we looked at the tapes, and Audrey's like, do you find someone better? And I'm like, no, this girl's unbelievable. So fly her in.
Well, that's always great when you find the talent, sometimes you have to scour the world for them. So
yeah.
It's very rare as an actor you get a script that is so thoughtful in how the scenes unfold and how the dialogue unfolds, especially, and how the characters, if you're paying close attention, you can pick up on Calhoun's lies because he changes his story as you're going, and you can kind of pick up on it because he's just not. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed. Let's face it. But it's so well written. I mean, and then when I got to that aha moment in the end, that Sixth Sense moment in the end, I literally had to put the script down. I probably even got up and paced a little bit. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And it's for me it's like cinema verde. It's kind of this wonderful blend of classic Western with a thriller blend to it, and then you have the action blend, and then you have the horror blend, that horror twist to it that makes this a very unique movie, and it happens in a real time and place that's believable. So it's not like something that's fantastical in the end, like Sixth Sense was. In this sense, you get the same aha moment, but it's more relative to present time as it was for them.
Well, I don't want to give too much away of the movie itself, but I mean, your character doesn't get to move around a lot for certain reasons. We're not going to go into too much detail about it, but your performance is amazing. You have so many character arcs throughout it. You're contained in an area where you're relying on these women, and you see it in your face and your expressions. And so, like, how is it create, like, you don't get to act with your body, you have to act with your face? What's that, sort of situation for you?
Well, I don't see it. Because I don't really approach it that way. I had the absolute blessing of studying with a teacher named Manu Tupou from the early to mid '90s up until around 2005 or so, when he had to retire from teaching due to health reasons and such. But he had a technique that just was absolutely mind blowing, and it's oddly metaphysical. You know what I mean? But for me, it's creating the reality of what the character is experiencing in his mind, and therefore it doesn't really matter if he's not mobile. That if he's not that mobile, because everything that he's going through is taking place inside the imagination anyway. So the imagination is bigger than the set, than the condition of the character, than anything else. So in a way, it's kind of a blessing, because as an actor, all I get to do is just relax into being a character. And that's what's rare in the film business, is having a character that's well written enough, which I'm sure Heather had the same experience, and Brielle probably did as well. And I'm sure that even Tom did as well with his character, which was he did such a wonderful job in it. I see photos of him on set, and he's got his goofy smile and everything. And then you watch the movie, and he's so believable as Bear John, as this really dark, just sinister, but very smart, bank robber and thief. And it's interesting when I watch his performance, how you can see him coaxing other characters into more dangerous situations, so that he can kind of let them be the guinea pig, you know what I mean? And I was like, wow, this is really brilliant. But anyway, man, it was just an absolute blessing to get to play this role, and I attribute it all to David Lipper and our happenstance meeting in Mississippi, because my manager and he go way back, Michael Greenwald and he go way back, and I happened to be living in Mississippi at the time, putting a production company together with a fellow actor named Jason London. So it was really interesting.
That's awesome.
How that played out.
It was also in our movie, Joe Baby. But yeah, I gotta say, to your question, Eric, it's a lovely thing for actors, having been one my whole life and taught it, when we have obstacles. And so when you have a physical obstacle for an actor, it just gives him that much more struggle in order to, like, he just can't do everything he wants to do, and it gives him more stuff to work with. So Corin used that beautifully. And it's probably one of the great things you can have as an actor, when a writer gives you all kinds of fun obstacles that you have to work through.
How was David? So how was getting Cowboy Cerrone is in the film as well? If people don't know that, they know that now. And then also getting Tom Hopper, how were those gets for you?
Tom Hopper we knew was a good get, because he's coming off of a huge run on the Umbrella Academy that's now in his final season, and obviously he's got a huge fan base. He also has crossover into Europe, where he did some great shows like Game of Thrones. But the beautiful thing about that is we knew he could ride, right? When he had done Black Sails and he had done Game of Thrones, we already knew he could ride and do all that. So that was a plus. And then Cowboy Cerrone, as Corin will let you know, we had a real cowboy. The thing with Cowboy Cerrone is there's no acting, right? That's this is a dude who knows how to twirl a gun, who knows how to ride and shoot at the same time, who's just a bad man when he wants to be. And as his fans will know, one of the greatest fighters in MMA history, right? I mean, he's a killer. So for him to play Wilson, we wanted at least one person in this cast to be the real deal. You know, I mean, Corin is really the real deal in terms of a Southerner. That natural twang of his is perfect for Calhoun. But Cowboy Cerrone.
Well, I am from Arkansas.
That's right. But Cowboy Cerrone, you know, is a real guy who lives on a ranch, who rides horses, who shoots. This is his world. So I really wanted the authenticity of that. And a friend of mine had just told me about how great he was on a film that, funny enough, was ended up on the Daily Wire. You know, it was a more conservative streamer, but it was a really good Western, and I got to see a little of his work and his acting. And I said, wow, this guy's actually he can actually act as well. So let's go get him, and that's how we got him. And then, funny enough, the guy who plays Jack was one of our stunt guys, and his father told me, who was our stunt coordinator, he said, you know, my son's a pretty good actor. And I said, really? All right, well, you know, can I see something on him? And I said, Audrey, why don't you see if you can work with him and see how that goes? And she was like, David, he crushed it. We should hire him. I'm like, great. That's one less guy I got to train how to ride a horse.
Yeah, Gatling Griffin. Gatling Griffin was awesome. And the other cool thing about the script is that every character in it, they're allowed their moment. You know, the Gatling Griffin's moment when he's solving the case at you know, the murder site, you know, and it almost turns into a forensics you know, investigation. It's rad, you know, Wild West forensics investigation. It's such a cool scene. And then you have you know, Cowboy Cerrone, his scene in the standoff with Ray Abruzzo, the Wild West pimp, who just, what a wonderful scene that is for him. And Zachary Keller has his great moments where, you know, especially when he's singing. I mean, the Singing in the Woods, that classic old song is just like, you know, that's what you want. That's what you want in a Western anyway. Those are the moments you want in a Western. You know, I love it.
And what a find on the guy who played Little Pete, you know, who's not so little.
Zachary Keller.
Is when Zachary could play and sing, and it just added a whole other thing to have this guy who pulls out a guitar and starts singing in the middle of all this craziness. So that was an Audrey find. I think that came from her manager. Another guy we had to fly in who doesn't live in LA, by the way. But I was like, oh God, at this point, just everybody flies in. Got it. But he was great, and really. I mean, like Corin said, every single actor in this cast was so different and brought something unique to the table. This was really well cast, I got to say. And that was a testament to Audrey really sitting down with me and bouncing off ideas and not taking any character for granted. And there were no giveaways in this movie. Everyone had to be perfect for the role, or we were going to keep looking. So I think, and Ray Abruzzo, by the way, is an old buddy of mine who's been in several of my films, and that was a quick call from me saying, Ray, can you do a Southern accent? He's like, I can do anything, Lipper. I'm like, great, come on down. By the way, do you know that Ray is one of the most requested actors on what's that thing called where you hire an actor to say happy birthday or whatever?
Cameo?
Yeah, Cameo.
Oh,
so Ray has like been a top 10 cameo guy for ages, and he was showing us that on set, and I was like, I get like 5 or 10 requests a year on that thing, but Ray is like,
what day?
Well, I want to thank you both for being on. I know Brielle was supposed to try to hop on, but maybe she'll catch us on the Q&A portion. We're at 4 o'clock Pacific time, 7 o'clock Eastern. So this is when we had planned to do our virtual premiere. So everyone get your trigger fingers ready and get ready to press play on your favorite digital platform if you didn't get one of our screening links. And we're going to go ahead and sign off for now and then come back at 8:45. Hold on, sorry. Let me get the correct time. Yeah, we'll come back at 5:45 Pacific, 8:45 Eastern, and we'll do a little Q&A after you've watched the movie. So if you haven't purchased it already,
these ribs will be gone by then, I assure you.
So you can check out placeofbonesmovie.com to purchase your own copy, or go to your favorite digital retailer where you watch everything, and Place of Bones will be there. So come and check us out. We'll sign off shortly. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Enjoy.